Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Kuli. Today I'll be showing you how to make this pretty overall dress for a little princess 0 to 3 months. So this dress has got some little buttons here. This I made myself. The tutorial is on my channel. I made with the same yarn I used to make the pockets and the little bows. This is a very good alternative when you want matching buttons, okay? When you can't find matching buttons. So please do check out the tutorial for these buttons as well as the hearts and the bows. I will link all the videos in the description box below. So this dress has little pockets here. Okay, so we'll be needing 100% acrylic yarn needle, 2.5mm hook for weaving in ends, regular needle and thread for sewing down these buttons, 5mm hook. This is the one we'll be using to crochet everything from the waistband to the skirt, also the upper part and the straps. Okay, and of course we will need scissors. Also just have a measuring tape just in case. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. Please remember to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Okay, so let's begin with the tutorial. So to begin the waistband, we are going to start with our slip knot. And then we chain 6. To make a chain, you yarn over, you pull through. Yarn over, pull through, that's 2. Yarn over, pull through, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now we are going to block off this last chain, chain number 6, and then we are going to make an extra chain for turning. Okay, so to begin row 1, we are going to make 6 half double crochets across the whole of row 1. So to make a half double crochet, we yarn over, we insert our hook in the chain that we blocked off earlier, we pull through. Now we have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. That's your first half double crochet for row 1. Yarn over, insert our hook in the second chain, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3. That's our second half double crochet. Three, 4, 5, and 6. So now we are done with our row 1. To begin row 2, we are going to chain 1 at the end of row 1. We turn our work, and then we are going to make again 6 half double crochets for row 2. Okay, so but this time around we are going to make the half double crochets in the back loops. So instead of inserting our hook in the whole stitch like so, we are only going to do it in the back loop, this one here behind. Okay, as you can see, these stitches have like a V, letter V, so the back loop is the one behind here, right? So we've already chained 1 and we've turned our work. So to begin row 2, we make our first half double crochet in the very first, the same stitch that we made our chain 1. So at the end of row 2, our stitch count should be 6. Okay, so we've made our first half double crochet. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so we are done with row 2. Before we continue with row 3, I like to mark off my right side so I don't get confused in the end. Which one is the right side, which one is the wrong side? So I'll be using a stitch marker to do that. So my stitch marker is just an extra piece of yarn that I have laying around. You can use whatever stitch marker you have. Okay, so to begin row 3, we chain 1 at the end of row 2, then we turn our work. And we do the same thing, 6 half double crochets in the back loop. Okay, one, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so we are going to repeat the same thing we did for row 2 and 3 until we have 35 rows. Okay, so at the end of each row, you chain 1 and turn your work. And at the end of each row, it should have 6 stitch counts. Okay, so chain 1, and then we begin row 4. So let's do the same thing until we have 35 rows of half double crochets in the back loops only. Please remember that. So we'll meet back here once we have done that. So I've reached the end of row 35. We are going to join the two sides together. So we are going to do that with the right sides facing each other and the wrong sides facing out, because we are going to turn our work inside out later. Okay, so this is the end of row 35. Chain 1, and then we are going to join the two sides together by slip stitches, using slip stitches. Okay, so we match the correct stitch on one side with the correct stitch on the other side. Both sides have 6 stitches, so at the end we'll end up with 6 slip stitches. Okay, we are done joining. It doesn't really matter whether you end up with six stitches. Once you join, it doesn't matter really, as long as the two sides are joined together. Okay, so now we are going to turn our work, and this is what we have with our right side facing out. Okay, so at the end here we are going to begin making the skirt now, the main part of the skirt. So since we have 35 rows, we are going to make 35 single crochets across, so 1 single crochet in each row. So first we are starting with a chain 1, and then we make our first single crochet in the first row. Okay, so let's do that until we reach the end here. So we'll meet back here once we have done that. Okay, so I've made my 35 single crochets around. We need to make sure that we have 35. So I'm just gonna recount that. We are not going to count this one because this one is a chain one that we made to begin the single crochet row. So we are going to start here. So this is 1, and then we end here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and then 35. Okay, so this is 35. Now we are going to slip stitch in the chain one that we made there. To slip stitch, you just insert your hook, pull through, and then you pull through. So now our first row is done. Now for row 2, we are going to make 35 half double crochets around. Okay, so we are going to chain 2, and then we make our first half double crochet in this very same stitch that we made our chain 2. So that's 1, 2, 3. So we are going to do the same thing until we reach the end here. So we'll meet back here once we have done that. Okay, I've reached the end of row 2, or the first row of half double crochets. So we are going to slip stitch in the chain 2 that we made. To begin row 3 or row 2 of half double crochets, we are going to chain 2 again. For this row we are going to make some increases because we want the skirt to have a shape. Okay, so I'm going to use pins because it's what I have. You can use stitch markers. So we are going to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 increases. Okay, so we are not going to turn our work, we are just going to continue in the same direction. So let's make our first half double crochet for row 2 of half double crochets in the very same stitch that we made our chain 2. Okay, so to make an increase, this is where we are going to make our first increase. We are going to make 2 half double crochets in the same stitch. Okay, so that's 1, and then 2. So we've made our first increase. So we continue. So let's make our second increase. Again, 1, and 2 half double crochets in the same stitch. Okay, so we continue to do the same thing across the whole row. We make 1 half double crochet in each stitch, and then once we reach the points where we made our marks to make increases, we insert 2 half double crochets in those stitches. Okay, so we'll meet back here once we have done that. We have reached the end of row 2 of half double crochets. So now we'll just slip stitch, then we chain 2. So for the third row, we are going to make 2 increases on the sides only. So for the increases, just choose random spots. For row 3, we are going to make 2 increases on the sides only. Okay. So we do the same thing we did for row 2. We make half double crochets across, and then once we've reached these spots where we indicated our increases, we make 2 half double crochets in each stitch. So we'll meet back here once we have done that. Okay, so I've reached the end of row 3. Always remember to make your last half double crochet in the very same stitch where you made your chain 1. Okay, so this is the end of row 3. Then we slip stitch, this will ensure that your line is straight. Okay, so we chain 1 again. For row 4, we are again going to make 2 increases on the sides. So we are going to use our same pins to indicate the sides. And then we begin with our first half double crochet. So we'll continue until we reach the points where we've marked as our increase points. Then we make 2 half double crochets in the same stitch. Okay, so we'll meet back here once we've done that. For row 5 of half double crochets, we are going to make 6 increases. Just choose any random spot as long as there are 6. Okay, I've already slip stitched. Now I'm going to chain 2. Make my first half double crochet in the very same stitch that I made my chain 2. And then I make 1 half double crochet in each stitch across until I reach the points where I indicated that there will be increases. So just like we did for row number 2 of half double crochets, we make 2 half double crochets in each stitch that we've marked to make our increases. So we'll meet back here once we've done that. All right, so for row 6, we are going to make 6 increases again. We are going to use our stitch markers to mark off the spots where we are going to make our increases. So we are going to do the same thing we did for row 5. we chain 2, and then we make 1/2 double crochet in each stitch until we reach our increase points, okay, where we make 2 half double crochets in each stitch, okay, and then 1/2 double crochet again, and then once we reach our next increase spot, we make 2 half double crochets in one stitch. Okay, so we will knit back here once we've done that. I've reached the end of row 6, so to begin row 7 we are going to do the same thing we did for row 5 and 6. So that means we are going to make again 6 increases, and then we do exactly the same thing we did for row 5 and 6. So we'll meet back here once we've done that. Okay, so I've reached the end of row 7 and I've already chained 2. So for row 8 we are going to make 1/2 double crochet in each stitch across until we reach the end here, and we are going to repeat the very same pattern until we have 20 rows in total. Okay, so 1/2 double crochet in each stitch. We are not going to make any increases from row 8 up to row 20. So we'll meet back here once we've done that. Okay, I've reached the end of row 20. So now we'll just chain 1 and cut off. Leave a tail that is long enough to weave in later. Okay, so this is what we have so far. So now we have to make the upper part. So what we're going to do is find where our middle part is. This is where we slip stitched in the beginning, and then we fold it in half like so. Okay, so just to make sure that we are in the middle. Okay, now that we've determined our middle part, we are going to section off the part where we are going to make the upper part. So mine will be here and there. So it's just basically the end of the last row on this side, and also the end of, or the beginning of the row this side, the last row. Okay, so the section part, the upper part, is going to cover this whole part. So to begin the upper part, we are going to join with new yarn. So we'll start with a slip knot. Make sure the tail is hanging inside. Okay, so insert your hook where you want your upper part to begin. So mine will be here. And then you just pull through the slip knot. You chain 1, and then you make 1 single crochet in the very same stitch you made your chain 1. Okay, so we are going to make single crochets across this whole row up to here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll meet you back here once we've reached this point. Okay, as you can see, I'm almost at the other end. So once you get here, just remove the stitch marker. Then you make your last single crochet there. Okay, so this is our row 1 of the upper part. So next we are going to chain 1, then we turn our work. So now we are going to make half double crochets for row 2. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll meet you back here once we reach the end here. Okay, so I've reached the end of row 2 and my stitch count is 27. That's because when I made my first row of single crochets, I didn't count the rows. I just made a single crochet in every hole that I could get my hook into. But if I had counted the rows, I would have ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. About 16 single crochets and 16 half double crochets. But I did not count the rows, so I ended up with 27. Okay, so we are now at the end of row 2, so we are going to chain 1 to begin row 3, and then we turn our work. So for row 3, we are going to do the same thing we did for row 2, 27 half double crochets across the whole row, and then at the end here we chain 1, and then we turn our work. So we are going to repeat the same pattern for 12 more rows. So we are going to have 13 rows of half double crochets and 2 rows of single crochets. So we've already made 1 row of single crochets, so now we are going to make 12 more rows. We have 1 half double crochet, so we have to make 12 more rows of half double crochet, and then our last row, the 15th row, will be single crochets. Okay, so I'll meet you back here once we've made all the 13 rows of half double crochets, including the one we just made. Okay, I've reached the end of row number 14, which is row number 13 of half double crochets. So now we are going to make the final row. So we chain 1, then we turn our work. So now we are working on row 15, then we are going to make 27 single crochets across the whole of row 15. Okay, so in total the whole upper part will have 15 rows. The first one will be single crochets, and then the next 13 will be half double crochets, then the last one will be single crochets. Okay, so I'll meet you at the end here once we've done that. So I've reached the end of row number 15, so we just chain 1, then we cut off our yarn here, leave a tail that is long enough to weave in later. Now you can add a border around here if you would like to, but for me I'm okay with the way it looks. So now we are going to make the straps. Okay, put this aside. So to make the straps, we are going to start with our usual slip knot. We chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we block off the last chain, which is chain number 6. We add an extra chain for turning. For row 1, we make 6 half double crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We chain 1 and turn. For row 2, we are going to make 6 half double crochets across again, but in the back loop. So basically we are just going to repeat the same pattern we did for the waistband. Okay, but this time around we are only going to make 30 rows instead of 35, but it's basically the same thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's do that until we have 30 rows in total. So we'll meet back here once we've done that. Okay, so I'm done. At the end here, we just chain 1 and leave a tail that is long because we are going to sew this strap to the dress. Okay, so I went ahead and made the second one. So there are my 2 straps. Okay, so now using our yarn needle, again you have to determine the center part. Okay, so that's our middle part. So now we have to count 1, 2, 1, 2. So our straps are going to cover these 2 rows. Okay, these ones, and then in the middle we should have 1, 2, these 2 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 9 rows in the middle. So just join the 2 together like so. So we are done with the first strap. Do the same thing for the second one here, and we'll meet back here once we've done that. Okay, so I'm done joining the other strap. What I wanted to show you is that once you are done joining, just make sure that your tail is hanging inside to keep your work neat when you're going to weave it in later. Okay, so there we go. So these straps can be also worn like that. So this is how the dress will be. Okay, okay, so we'll meet back here to join the other pieces. Okay guys, here comes the fun part. So now we are going to secure down all our little pieces onto the main project. So I've already placed them on their on where they are supposed to be. So these two hearts are the pockets. Like I've mentioned before, I have tutorials on my channel on how to make the buttons, the two hearts, and also the little bows. Okay, so these long tails that you see here are for sewing down the buttons. So I'll be using a yarn needle to do that. I'll also be using a yarn needle to sew down the little bows. And I'll also be using a yarn needle to sew down the little heart pockets. All right, so here, let me just remove this stitch marker here. This was just to indicate the right side. Here I'm going to sew down the button that is going to be closing through here. Okay, something like that. So it's very advisable to use a flat button like this because we are going to hide it with a bow, the bows. Okay, so you do the same thing for the other side. So let me just go ahead and put everything together, then I'll meet you back here once I've done that. Okay, guys, I'm done securing everything in place. This is what I have. Okay, so when you're going to sew down the pockets, just make sure to leave the top part open, okay, because these are pockets. So you just sew around here. Okay, so this is what we have at the back. I'm just going to remove this stitch marker. This was just to indicate the right side of the waistband. Okay, so we are done, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and please remember to subscribe for more videos like this. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in my next video. All right, guys, bye bye.